Hi guys, I'm Ryan Newsman and welcome to my fly tying channel. If you haven't already done so, consider hitting the subscribe button down below. That'll keep you up to date with everything as I upload it. My channel already contains hundreds of videos covering a wide range of both patterns and techniques, from the basic to the more advanced. So without delay, let's get on with the show. Hi guys, welcome back. So tonight we're going to tie a pot-bellied pig, this one being like a claret and gold coloured one. So I have here, it's probably 20mm or so of black outer, and the same of the inner flanged inside it, and it is cut at a bevel, which you might be able to see there. So I like to slide my thread in between the two tubes to start, and then I go back as far as where the bevel bulges the outer tube. So I'm going to use a little bit of boar hair here. So I actually have two types. I've got quite a fine one here, which is in like a fluorescent-y pink sort of a colour, and I'll take a little bunch of them. And if they tend to be too straight, what you can do is just run your nail into them and flare them. I'm going to set that bunch on top and tie it in. Now don't be too worried about how neat you do this, because we're actually trying to create that fat pot sort of belly. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a few longer ones. This is a bunch of, again, like a fuchsia dyed longer, stiffer sort of a boar, and again these are quite straight. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run my nail into them to flare them, and I'm going to lay those on to be longer than our first bunch. Check it against the front of the fly, trim it off there, and tie that in on top. Little dab of super glue into it because it doesn't compress, and tie back to our black flanged bit. If you want, you can then just, once they're tied in, you can run your fingernail into them to sort of flare them more if you want. So we're going to put on a little bit of flash here. So I'm going to take a pearl crystal here, one strand of it, fold it over and match the tips, tie that in about 1/2 to 3/4 the length of the fly, fold it back on itself, tie it over and trim it the same, and therefore we'll have 4 strands in the tail. Up to yourself as much or as little flash as you want, and you can alter the colours of that. Gold would probably fit with it quite well too. Next one I'm going to use is this is a piece of American opossum that I have dyed in like a, it's dyed magenta, but it's also dyed claret as well, and I've got this sort of rich claret tip to it, and then as we get down into the under fur of it, it changes to that brighter sort of magenta colour. So we're going to take a bunch of that, get rid of the really short rubbishy fur, and then I'm going to split my bunch just for ease of tying. Grab it by the tips, I'm going to measure it up to be a little bit longer than the shank there. Allow it to splay around a little bit, and then we're going to take the other bunch, flip the fly over and do the same there. And this creates sort of like a fake hackle kind of an effect to the fly. And this front bit here, then I'll just get my scissors underneath and tie him. 10 centimeters or so of my tying thread and wrap over that, and that will create our shape, and it'll also seep into the tie-in points of the fur, and there's no way they're going to pull out. I'm always a little bit worried with plastic tubing that the nature of spay casting bends it, so I like to make it more rigid as I go along. So red wire as a rib, tie that in, and for the body itself I'm going to use, this is a mixture of a few different gold and holographic gold kind of angel hairs, and I also put a little bit of a hen's purple one into it, and we shall put that onto our thread and spin it on to create our dubbing rope. I'm going to start wrapping in the middle and wrap backwards. When I get to the rear of the fly, then I'll start to come forwards. I just need a little bit more to finish it, and that creates that sort of dumpy pot shape, because we have all the thickness of all the tie-ins that we did at the back here, and then we wrapped forward and back over it to give us several layers of dubbing. So the wire helps to dig into that type of a dubbing body and hold it in place. Tie the wire in, I'm going to fold it back, and you can wiggle it off if you want. I'm just going to trim it here. So next we're going to put on jungle cock. So I'm going to take a jungle cock cape, and we're going to take one from each side of that. 1, 2. Measure them up, strip them off. If you want your jungle cock to be more prominent, you can put it on after the hackle. I'm going to put it on here before it. I'm going to hold it in position on one side with my thumb, flip over and hold the other one with my finger, and tie over that, and that'll give us a sort of like a roofed jungle cock effect. Nip that one, nip that one off. Little touch of glue or varnish, a couple of wraps, no way they're going to pull out. And then for the front we're going to put on a Claret type hackle, but what this actually is this is a strung hackle that I got off eBay, and I think it was meant to be magenta or pink, but they must have over dyed something like a red game. So what we end up with is this bright pink on the back, and on the front it's more like a claret. And I quite like hackles that are like that. I'll tend to dye red game quite a few different colours, because you get the back of the hackle showing through as you wind it, as well as the front, and gives quite a nice mix. So I'm going to double that. As per usual, I have a video on doubling hackles. If you want to have a look for that in my technique section, and that explains that in much more detail. But we'll double the hackle. Don't worry if you can't do that, just tie it in your normal way. So there's going to be a cone in front of this, which will neaten it up no matter what way you put it on anyway. So tie that in, flip it back, and then I'll just use my fingers to stroke the hackle as I go. Now obviously you can't really see so well when I'm doing that, but it does make for a much neater hackle if you're preening the whole time and rotating the stalk as you go, just to end up with you can control what way the fibres lie in that respect. So we'll tie, and you notice I've tied back over the hackle a little bit. It's just to make a little seat of a head, and what we're going to do here is put on a gold cone. Now these cones I got from Fly Makers, and I really like the shape of them. I think this is the small. So it has a hole that fits our 1.8mm liner, but it's quite well recessed into the back, but quite square of a recess. A lot of ones, when they're recessed, are right to the front of it. That means you can get it back a long way onto the fly, but it also loses you a bit of weight, so I quite like this. So I'll get this on if I can. And once it's in position, I'll take my glue, get a bit of glue on 2 inches of thread there, pull my hackles back to protect them, and then I'm just going to wrap in the one spot, and that's going to create that glue blob, and then push the head back onto it. And there's no need for a whip finish or anything because the whole thing's wrapped through super glue. And then I'm going to trim that and leave 2 mil or so sticking out the front. And you notice this is a different way than what you may have seen me do it before. So our actual needle here is sticking through beyond the bit that I've cut there, and then I'm just going to flame that back. And the needle through it means it's patent no matter what. Now you may need to just flip it around and check that the hole's a little bit wider if needs be. That's our fly tied, so that is our Claret and Gold pot-bellied pig variant. And as per usual, like, subscribe, tell your friends, leave some comments, the more the merrier. And until next time, tight lines, and thanks for watching.